What's up, everybody? Matt Gajeski here, back again with the Odd Shopper channel. And today we are continuing our college football preview series ahead of the 2022 season. And today we'll be talking Michigan Wolverines, their entire roster, and some bets for you guys at the end of the show. Before we get started, make sure to like the channel, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you know when this and all other content goes live. We are also brought to you today by BetMGM, and they have a phenomenal offer for you guys. You can get up to $1,000 in risk-free bets when you deposit for your first time with BetMGM. You can click the link in the video description below or use the promo code OSCFB to claim your first risk-free bet. All right, we're diving into the Michigan Wolverines today and looking at what we have available odds-wise. The Big Ten is a very clear favorite to win it all. It is Ohio State at minus 215. Michigan is next. They're plus 600 for reference. And then if you look just to win the East, Ohio State's minus 320. Michigan is plus 400. So if you are a Michigan backer to win the Big Ten, you're getting some pretty solid odds here. If you just look at the win total, it is set at 9.5. The over is minus 125. The under is plus 105. And taking a look at the schedule here, it is winnable. In non-con, you have Colorado State, you have Hawaii, and you have UConn. That should be 3 surefire wins. You do play the gauntlet of the Big Ten East, so that includes opponents like Ohio State, which they get on the road to close the year. Michigan State and Penn State, both of those are at home. That's 3 very tough games. From there, you look at the crossover to the Big Ten West. You do get Nebraska. That is luckily at home. And then you have to play at Iowa. So I see 5 pretty treacherous games here, but only one they're going to be a clear underdog. Again, when you look at the odds just to win the Big Ten, Ohio State is that clear favorite. But then Michigan, they're very clearly second. And when you get beyond them, Penn State is 16-1. Michigan State is 28-1. Michigan is just 6-1. So they're going to be clear favorites in those games as long as the season started today. We'll get more information as we go. But it's a winnable schedule for Michigan. When you dive into the roster, too, there's a lot to like, and you can understand why they're plus 600, second only to Ohio State. They have a little bit of a quarterback battle going on, but it's between 2 solid players. They have Cade McNamara, who was their starter last year, and former 5-star dual threat J.J. McCarthy, who's played extremely well. No matter who starts here, it's probably going to be a platoon of some sort, even to start the year. And they're going to use McCarthy a lot on the ground. But you have 2 solid signal callers here. I don't think that's too much to worry about. Running backs also strong. They lose Hassan Haskins, but Blake Corum is back as a little spark plug. He's 5'8", 200 pounds. And he's joined by Donovan Edwards, who played extremely well in a small sample. But how will the offensive line hold up? I think there's a lot to be optimistic, even though they lost 3 players. You have Ryan Hayes and Trevor Keegan coming back. You also have Zach Zinter coming back. You get a transfer from Virginia to play center. Oluwatimi, who was awesome there. He had a PFF grade above 80. So this is a really good transfer they're getting in. That leaves just one question. It's right tackle. And they recruit so well that I think they could probably find one guy to step up at this position. Depth might be a question, but I don't think this offensive line takes a huge step back. And they're looking at an offensive system that shouldn't be too different compared to last year. They do have to replace their DC. Jesse Minter is going to be the guy now. And again, he's a guy that has some familiarity with this program. So I'm not thinking offense and defense shift too much for this team. But getting back to the roster, wide receiver is also going to be awesome as long as they throw the ball a little bit more. Eric All's their tight end, extremely efficient yards per route run wise. They returned Ronnie Bell after he suffered a season-ending injury last year. He's an explosive playmaker for this team. And they have Cornelius Johnson, Roman Wilson, A.J. Henning, Angel Anthony. They go 5 deep at this position with efficient play, and Anthony is a projected breakout candidate this year. On defense, this is the biggest question for the team. They're losing some premier starters. They lose Hutchinson. They lose Ajabo. They're only returning 4 starters overall. On the edges, it's basically going to be a couple players here that have limited experience, just a couple starts, some combination of Mike Morris, Chris Jenkins, Taylor Upshaw maybe. They're going to need to replace those players, and it's going to be difficult. And you might have to manufacture some sort of pressure with linebackers, blitzing, stuff like that, which has been talked about in camp. The interior should be better. Mozzie Smith returns. Rayshon Benny's there. And Julius Weishoff has received a lot of hype during camp. He's a solid interior player. Linebacker, this should be solid. You have Junior Colston, Nakia Hill-Green. Those are solid players, and Colston's a player who is a breakout candidate this year. The secondary should also be the strength of the defense, too, with Jamon Green back, DJ Turner. He had 8 starts last year, was honorable mention All Big Ten. Michael Barrett is a player who has started games. He's sort of a nickel linebacker. He can play in the slot a little bit. Rod Moore and RJ Moten both have some starting experience too in the back. And so I think that will be their strength. The question is, can they play well enough to hang with the likes of Ohio State? And that's still a major question for me. So when we talk about betting, to me, this is one of my least favorite teams to bet because you have so many treacherous games. Yes, they'll be favored in a lot of them. But again, just to look at the schedule, away at Iowa, you play at home at Penn State, at home against Michigan State. They're at home, but those are tough games. You're versus Nebraska. That's going to be a tough game in the West. And then you close with Ohio State to finish the year. If I was betting this, it still would be towards the over, which is a tentative lean. But again, this is probably not one I want to add to my card. And if you do think Ohio State goes to the over, you're probably better off just betting them to win the Big Ten. And again, the West is really weak. So if you're going to bet someone to win the East, backing one of these Eastern teams, whether it's Michigan, Michigan State, Penn State, you might as well back them to win the whole thing just because you're not looking at a live opponent in the West. So to me, if I'm taking anything, it's a sprinkle on Michigan State plus 600 to win the Big Ten, maybe a little bit on their win total, but it's a tough schedule for them as it always is playing in the Big Ten West. But that'll do it for us today. Let me know in the comment section what you think about Michigan's roster, where you think their win total should be, how many games they do win. Then I'll make sure to get back to you. I'm Matt Kajeski on Twitter at Matt_Kajeski. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you again next time.